All right, thanks, Ron. Love the agenda today. Just really diverse and a good assortment of different topics. So I'm going to start off with a little bit about on the education front, what we do, where we hunt, and where most of the attacks, or a lot of the attacks, are coming from these days. And then I'll do a little bit about what Huntress does and where we fit in. But my background, first of all, South Florida based. Know Ron for a lot of years back from my Cisco days. Prior to that, I was IBM for a number of years. And over to Huntress, coming up on a very fast-paced year, 6-year-old startup focused on cybersecurity. Well capitalized, well funded, just secured a Series B for $40 million and investing that heavily into the platform. I'm actually broadcasting today from Dallas, kind of bopping around a little bit, but love the virtual events. Much easier, can scale and connect with all of you all over the globe. Anyway, we are cybersecurity for the 99%, the 1% of the folks that can have an unlimited budget, can spend whatever they need to properly protect. I looked at the attendee list for today, and it looks like some of you may actually be on the call. Doesn't mean that you can't use Huntress. We can supplement, but you've got the luxury of pretty much writing a blank check or having a blank check to properly protect. For the others that don't have that kind of a budget, I'm going to show you where we fit in and how we complement your existing stack. Along the education front and teaching a little bit, I want to start off with a slide I normally put later in the deck. One of our threat researchers, John Hammond, he's well known in the cybersecurity community. He's approaching 300,000 YouTube followers. Really well known out there in the threat hunting world, cybersecurity space. Was actually just named this morning, we saw, as one of the top 100 people that you don't know yet and should get to know. Super smart guy, and he estimates that over 90% of the attacks that you're reading about, hearing about, or may have been hit with are typically starting with something called persistence or a persistence tactic. And really what that means in simple terms is the ability for a hacker to circumvent your prevention tools and sit inside your environment for days, weeks, even months at a time. And what they want to do is work hard to get in just once and then sit there in your environment and open up a back door using these persistence tactics, or planting what's called a foothold. And that foothold is what you'll typically hear about when you see the major attacks that have hit lately. No matter where it is, you can fill in the blank with whoever it is, whatever it was. And what you'll typically find is that the attacker was in the environment, again, for days, weeks, or months. They want to stay there, come and go as they want, have that back door open that usually circumvents a lot of the prevention and protection tools. We complement all of that. We're looking in a space that folks typically are not, and I'll tell you what gives us the street cred to do that is our founders came out of the NSA. So Kyle in the middle, CEO, lead visionary, lead hacker, Chris on the right, John on the left. John heads our threat ops team. Chris developed our super clean, super simple software that only alerts when you need to do something. And Kyle is the guy that is out there setting the model for what our software needs to be. At the NSA, they were there for 10 years. Kyle won top award from the general of the cyber unit in the top right, if you're familiar with Capture the Flag. DEF CON, it's like the World Series of hacking. They come from all over the globe to compete, and they won it one year, typically plays top 10. What they were doing, and this is what plays into persistence, is Kyle and the team were basically opening up back doors in our foreign adversary systems, and they would stay there for months to years at a time. Their job was not to go and encrypt or blow anything up. They wanted to open up the back door and be able to come and go. That's what's happening these days in the commercial world, where the hackers are now breaking in, open the back door, but eventually what they want to do is exfiltrate data. They want to hold your data hostage. They want to encrypt it and eventually hit you with some kind of a ransomware, or again, hold it hostage for payment. So they got really good at knowing how those back doors can stay there for, again, months to years in their case, and then how to hunt those down, which is what we do. So that's about persistence. You'll hear a little bit more about that. Out there in your world, cybersecurity, what's going on. There's been a bunch of attacks lately that have hit the news. Kaseya you may or may not have heard about, but it's a supply chain, almost like what the SolarWinds was, typical, similar to that. And we were first on the scene with that. We were out in front of it. We were working with Kaseya and with the team. You might have heard about the Microsoft Exchange breach. We were on that one nice and early and way out in front. It's not what we do as part of our platform. It's what we do because we are helping the cybersecurity community as a whole, well connected with the managed service field, as well as being connected with a whole lot of Huntress customers. So there's Kyle on CNBC, whole lot of headlines to be able to help overall and jump in. We were actually on the phone July 4th weekend when the Kaseya breach hit. making phone calls to our customers because we're way out in front of that one. Very successful, again, well-funded, 800,000 endpoints currently under the platform, 40,000 customers. Price point of what we are, we put it right up front, just as we go through a little bit of the product, you're not wondering what it costs. This is the MSRP, you can get an idea. It's, $30 to $40 typically per year, per machine, or per month, $3 to $4. So we usually get that out of the way, so you're not sitting there saying, what does it really cost, and where is, what's the bracket. More hunting for persistence. We'll build on that a little bit more. They're bypassing your preventive tools, and I'll show you why that is and how that works, and then what we're able to do. But most of this is really all about your solution, your security stack that you and your team are using to be able to prevent. And we're complementing that. We don't replace it, we complement. We're hunting typically in your environment where others are not looking, and we're simple and affordable. There is a trial if you decide that you want to take a look at it. You can put that out to any number of agents. We get all that out of the way. Let's take a look at NIST. And if you or your team, I didn't get a feel for titles, but if you're not security focused, may or may not be familiar with NIST. For the security folks, National Institute Standards and Technology, and they lay out a framework. There are different frameworks. We like this one, a nonprofit, government agency that lays out how should you properly protect. And this is typically the 1%. If you look at all the solutions, first you're going to go ahead and identify what you need to protect. Then you're going to figure out how you're going to protect that. And this is where you'll see a lot of the security solutions that are out there. Antivirus, firewalls, DNS filtering, some education, user training, something like a KnowBe4 that we've co-presented with before. So you build out that protect layer to stop them at that front door. But once they get past that, you need to be in threat hunting and detect. You can see the tools there that would be used, respond, recover. We're not doing all of this. You have other tools that are in there doing it, but we focus right in that detect and respond where security expertise is needed. We're a unique combination of cyber threat hunters augmented by our software, whereas most of those protect and prevention tools that are needed, make sure your stacks in that protect layer are solid. Make sure you build those out properly. They're going to stop everything 99.X% of the time. They're going to do their job, do it well. But when those bad actors figure out ways to get around it, which is typically what hits the headlines, and then get past it and break in, then they're sitting in your environment past that compromise. And now you need to put threat hunters in the mix. You have to have humans in the equation, again, augmented by software, playing offense to the right of compromise, put more people in the mix with that blue bar, playing defense to the left, and if the defense fails, which it will at some point, we're in there now with human threat hunters teeing up what needs to be done, what we found, in a step-by-step remediation. So defense to the left, doing it right most of the time, going to miss it because they're looking for known bads. If they miss it and these bad actors figure out how to look like a known good, get around it, they're now in your environment for, again, days, weeks, months. They want to outlast that recover. So if your backup is 30, 60, 90 days even, average dwell time these days, what they call dwell time, which is in your environment without being detected, is about 100 days. If they can outlast your backup and go past 90 days, now what's going to happen is if you don't know it's there, you're going to wind up recovering or restoring, potentially with that open backdoor that you want to shut. I know this is a bit of an eye chart. MITRE is, again, another nonprofit, and if you look just left to right, this is a really good education on what the anatomy of an attack looks like. So the first thing that happens is you end up with... Ron, can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you, Bob.
Yep, sorry about that. It figures working from a temporary setup here, and that was the Comcast, or actually Renaissance calling me. Let me...
All right, as Bob is... Now we lost your voice, Bob. Let's say, I've given this a couple of times. Bob, can you hear me now?
Ron?
Now we got you back.
Yeah, sorry about that.
No problem. Hey, Bob, as you go through this, if you can also interject, because even though MITRE and NIST may be more associated with the enterprise, again, I want to point out the same methodology is absolutely applicable in education. As you said, when you've got students and so many teachers who may not be that tech savvy. Everyone's gotten much more tech savvy. The risk of these dormant attacks is almost higher in these educational environments. And at the same time, as Bob alluded to, it's always tough getting school budgets approved. And this isn't necessarily high on the list when people want to invest in professor salaries and whatnot, but they provide a very cost-effective tool for filling an incredibly important need that's even much more dangerous among students. I can tell you, my kids, I got to tell them all the time, don't click on these links.
Yep, you got it. Thanks, Ron.
Okay.
Yeah. So, left to right, this is what's happening when somebody is looking to get into your environment. They want to gain initial access, execute some command to get through that front door. That's your preventative tools. Persistence is where they're dropping and opening up that back door. And then if you look to the right of persistence, this is where it gets pretty ugly, which is what Ron was mentioning. So now they're going to get in there, access credentials, exfiltrate data, command and control, all sorts of different things that are popping up to be able to get into your environment. So what we do is prevention's got to do their job, so they can't get in eventually to impact, which is the encryption, or exfiltrate the data and hold it hostage. So what we do is we work in your environment to threat hunt at that persistence level. If we can break the chain at persistence, what will happen is they can't go any further to the right. They can't get to discovery, can't get to payload execution. If you look at the recent attacks, whether it's the school districts that have hit the news, I'm down here in South Florida, so probably aware of some that happened here and all over the place. What they want to do is break in and then eventually get to that data and then hit you with that ransomware note and then start to go back and forth. So we focus on that persistence. We can complement or do complement your existing solutions. Persistence, just one last education piece on what it is. So again, they're looking to maintain that foothold, come and go at will, be able to survive the restart. So a little bit of background on persistence. Microsoft put in persistence mechanisms day one. Your system clock, your clock on your front page on your Windows is a really good example of a persistent mechanism. And every time you reboot, your clock comes right back up again. It's legit. Your accessibility tools, your magnifier, things like that are there. Everything that persists a restart is a good persistence. And what these bad actors are doing, if you look in yellow, is they are hijacking, replacing and hijacking the code to be able to open up that back door and that foothold. So what we do is hunt in that space. I will not get into the detail of this, but you do know every time you add new software to your machine, you go ahead and do an update. What that's doing in the background is it's adding these things called Autoruns, and your clock is an example of an auto run. It's got to be there, it's got to auto start, it's got to come back every time, and they're hijacking that to open up that back door. So we focus in that environment. We have a little agent that runs in your environment. We send it up to our human threat ops. We take a look at that data, and if we determine that it's malicious, you and your team will only hear from us when there's an actual incident. We tell you what it is, we tell you where we found it, we tell you what tools are installed, and then we tell you step by step what needs to be done, and then we give you a green easy button that we give you a step-by-step remediation. Click the approve button and you and your team can get on with their day and not have to worry about what's going on in the area of persistence. So if we can hunt in that space, we can drive those security investigations, we reverse engineer what's happening, incident reporting to let you know what's going on, and then we have security research, like I mentioned at the beginning with the Kaseya breach. And if you take a look at our blog, there's no sales information in there. It's actually just what we're doing out there in the community to help folks stay vigilant and stay a step ahead of these bad actors. So we focus on that detect and respond. For your security teams, could they find and stop an attack? Could your team find and stop an attack that didn't create alerts in your preventive tools? And typically no, again, unless you're perhaps that 1%, you've got security teams and we can help them and supplement. But for the most part, the 99%, the answer to that is going to be heck no, they're too busy with all the stuff that's going on out there. There's other things in the platform. If you'd like to follow up with us, we do have ransomware canaries. If these get tripped, it's like a tripwire. If you start to get encrypted, our dashboard is going to light up for you and tell you. We have managed antivirus. If you're using Microsoft Defender, then we're able to help manage that for you. So it's a lot more than just threat hunting. The price point, again, reasonably priced. We don't add anything onto it. There's no nickel and diming with Huntress. It's one price, one SKU. But the main event for us is to hunt for persistence in your environment. Trials are available. They're easy to deploy. Our engineers will help you do it. And any questions?
Hey, Bob, that was great. This is Ron again. Can you comment maybe on, let's say, a higher ed or school district who you might have successfully worked with to give a tangible example for our educational audience now?
Yeah, so none by name, but we're in just about, every industry, anybody that has a cybersecurity concern, which is just about everybody out there, with endpoints. I do need to mention we're Windows only at the moment. Mac is coming soon. So I know in education, a lot of different devices, but typically, unfortunately, a lot of the handheld devices that are not Windows based are not yet being, not using persistence as a backdoor. Typically, they would be like a drive-by attack or something that's going to, basically do a one hit, whether it's a student device or one of the endpoints that's not Windows based. And in that case, our ransomware canaries, if they start to encrypt, would get lit up. But we are focused on Windows devices, basically protecting, keeping those backdoors from getting opened up.
Okay, good. Well, thanks so much, Bob. Again, when we're coming up with this content, and I know firsthand, because I get called by my school district CTO a lot about questions and insights, this is top of mind. And with everything being software defined, software upgradable, these are key challenges. And knowing Bob and the history, I know that people are very concerned. There are all these new threat vectors out there, and it's hard enough staying ahead of 0-day attacks. But I'm not sure how you call it, like a minus 60-day attack that happens 60 days later, not just immediately, is very challenging. And so we wanted to share that with you. Thanks, Bob.